Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy from Emmy Evolving. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for finding me. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. So I asked what this conversation is going to be about, and what I heard is accelerated unfoldment. So something's happening. It's happening at a very accelerated rate, and we're going to figure things out. We're definitely going to figure things out. Let me just get us some cards. Okay. Just breathe. The energies of today are intense. I don't know if it's intense in a good way, bad way, or just intense, period. I don't know. Oh, Lord. Lord. Lordy Lord. Okay. What am I doing? Okay. 1 second. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. It's going to be okay, girl. It's going to be okay. This deck is always like the hardest to shuffle. So let me just get a couple from the middle somewhere. And let's get this party started. Okay. So accelerated unfoldment. Something is happening fast. I want to set this intention that whatever's happening, it's going to be for your greatest benefit. Okay, let's go ahead and set that intention already. Ooh, okay, good. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. All right. Oh, okay. We just knock on wood. Okay. So there's something that's coming to an end. This is the Death card. It's about endings. It doesn't necessarily mean actual death, but it does mean something is going to be ending. Hold on. I completely forgot to launch TikTok on my laptop so that I can see what people are saying to me. Okay. Hi, Nicole. Okay. So something's ending, right? And it has to do with a mindset. This mindset that we've allowed to persist has created separation between us and the very people we need to be unified with. This is a call from soul to begin the process of reintegration and reunification. It is time. It's time. And if we're not going to do this, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to create so much hardship for us. And it's going to be something outside of us that's going to be creating this hardship. If we can come together, at least begin the process of putting aside our differences and celebrating the fact that we're not exactly the same, being unified in our diversity, really powerful things can happen for us as individuals and for the collective whole. This is such an easy, very simple thing to do. But the moment we begin inserting our egos, inserting the need to be right, the need to be superior, the need to tear someone else down in order to establish our worth, then it becomes something that's very, very difficult to do, almost impossible. So a lot of what's happening right now is this realization that we have not been respecting ourselves and each other. This lack of respect, it needs to go. It needs to go. I once had this person kind of just like going off in the comments, and I think this was years ago. I'm sure it was years ago. I said that I expect respect. And that person, I don't even remember who it was, they were so upset. Like, who do you think you are? Expecting respect without giving it first. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't. My thing is, respect is the bare minimum for everyone. That until you give me a reason to not have respect for you, or for my respect for you to be decreased, you get that respect. I'm not going to put you on a pedestal, but I'm going to treat you with dignified existence. I'm going to honor your dignity. I'm not going to go out of my way to be disrespectful. And that's the bare minimum. Bare minimum. Now, if you begin doing things that show me you're unworthy of that bare minimum of respect that everyone deserves when they cross paths with me, well, then you're going to change my mind. So it's this thing of, if we begin to shift the way we approach all of our interactions with others, it has a very, very powerful effect. It has a very powerful effect. An example of this, I was fighting with a hospital. My sibling was dying of heart failure, and the hospital was violating his patient rights, and the patient rights extended to me because I was his notarized power of attorney. I was his legal agent, and they wouldn't allow me to see him. There was a circumstance with the staff being very disrespectful and abusive in their position. And I had gone to the hospital to help de-escalate the situation. They didn't want me to be in the presence of what they were trying to do, which was try and force him to sign documents that he could not understand. And they refused to allow me to go up to help de-escalate the situation. Long story short, I insisted to speak to the house supervisor. That's the person that you go to if you have an issue with staff in the hospital. And they were trying to avoid speaking with me. And then I pushed the issue because shift change was about to happen. I pushed the issue, and the house soup came down to a public lobby to speak to me. They had one intention. First and foremost, you're not supposed to speak to me about a patient in a public space. That's a violation of HIPAA. I knew that. And I knew the moment they began to speak to me, I had them by the balls. I did not yell. They tried to escalate the situation. They wanted me to become reactive. The house supervisor of the hospital was speaking loudly, aggressively. This was a male, waving his hands and in a lobby. And I was sitting there speaking in a neutral tone. And I said, I'm sorry, can I ask you a question? I said, go ahead. Why are you raising your voice at me and speaking so emphatically when I'm actively listening to you? I can hear you. You're standing right in front of me. I changed that circumstance by simply standing in my space, in my power, letting him know I will not match your energy. And it's not a sign of intimidation or weakness. It's a sign of elevated consciousness. I know what you're doing. I will not match your energy. I'm going to ask you to match mine, a space of neutral conversation. You know what happened? Changed his tone immediately, not because I threatened, not because I matched energy, but because I simply asked, why are you speaking so loudly? I'm actively listening to you. Did not cut him off, none of that. A simple question completely shifted the interaction. What happened after that? Not only did his tone change, his position changed, not because I convinced him, but because he began to understand his behavior was out of control and inappropriate. There were no threats made at all. And it was to the point where he later, the next day, I believe, he went into my brother's room, and not only did he apologize again, he said, you know, if I ever need a power of attorney, I hope your sister will let me choose her, because you have a very powerful advocate on your side. You don't have to match energy. You have to understand what's being attempted. This ethos, mindset that's been so popularized. I'll match energies. I'll tit for tat. I'll this, I'll that. No. You need to begin discerning when someone is interacting with you as a demonic familiar. They're unaware of exactly what they're doing. And they're being encouraged and triggered and triggered and triggered to try and trigger you. You guys have seen this happen in so many live streams. So many live streams of mine. You've seen this happen. And I'll allow whoever that is, their comment, to be used as a speaking point, but I will not match that energy. Sometimes I'll speak passionately. Does that mean I'm angry? No, I'm just a passionate speaker. I have a lot of inflection in my voice. Does that mean I've allowed them to upset me? Probably not. Probably not. There's times when communication needs to be aggressive because that's the language that individual speaks. And they don't understand what you're communicating until you communicate in the way that they're accustomed to receiving. And once you have their attention, de-escalate it, right? You need to begin controlling whatever circumstance you've been inserted in, by self, by soul, by others. You need to control that circumstance. I've never been in a circumstance that I have been inserted in, either by choice or outside of my own choice. I've been inserted into something. I will command that circumstance. By force? No. By sovereignty. By sovereignty. There is something accelerated that's unfolding, and you need to be aware of the way your energy, your mindset, your behaviors, even your coping mechanisms, how it's being manipulated. There are parts of you that are being exploited without your consent, without your awareness. As long as you play like you don't know, they will absolutely get their way with you. They will absolutely get their way with you. Why? Because you've left the triggers out to be touched. I have triggers. They're buried deep inside me. To hide from others? No, because just like with a pew pew, you don't leave that out for other people to touch. That's irresponsible. You put it away. There will be times where my triggers will be pulled, but that will be between myself and my soul. Never because someone else forced that upon me. The amount of self-control you need to begin developing, it's going to serve you in the end. If you allow it, if you develop it, it will in fact serve you. So for some of us, in order for this to happen, you need to go through a rebirth, right? And what is this rebirth? Well, for me, and I'm simply interpreting this message from soul, this is telling me that you've been very icy towards the very parts of your character that are calibrated to protect you, calibrated to speak up for you. Those are the parts you're ashamed of because society doesn't allow you to be that, to access that part of you. Would you believe that for a very large portion of my life, I have either been shamed by others or deeply shamed by myself, by me, to not speak up, to not share my thoughts, not share my opinions, none of that. I would say 99% of the things that I share on live streams these days are things that I would never say to other people, would have never shared any of that. Why? Because society tells me I'm not allowed to. For those of you who have been with me for any length of time, whether it's just a couple of days, a couple of weeks, couple months, couple of years, have I said things on live streams? It might be a tangent, might be something very emotional, might be something delivered in a very matter-of-fact way. But have I said something in a live stream that has powerfully impacted the way you see yourself in your life and how you will navigate your life? And it's not because I'm telling you this is what you have to do, this is how you have to be, this is who you are. No, I don't know any of those things. Only you do, and only you determine what you become. It's simply because I shared my experience and then you received it and decided what to do with that. You see how much power you have over yourself. I can't force you to believe what I believe, and I shouldn't. I don't want to be honest. I don't want to. I see myself in the reality of who and what I am, the actuality of it. I am still a flawed human. I was never asked to be perfect. I was never asked to be perfect, and it's not my goal to be perfect. So, what does that mean? Where does that leave us? It means I'm just like you, and I'm just sharing things that I've been through. And maybe because I've been through so much in life, a lot of trauma, a lot of drama, drama, drama. Yeah, no, I've been through a lot. Why? So that I could develop my own personal perspective, my opinion, and share with you how my opinions are rooted in what I experienced and how I overcame that. I'm not a byproduct of the traumas that have been forced upon me by other people. I'm the end result of my decision to not be a byproduct, to not allow people to force me into whatever position, whatever mindset they're trying to force me into. You'll never convince me that I'm something outside of what I know myself to be at this point. It's taken me most of my life to get there. Why do I say that? So you understand that you're not expected to change and become a different person tonight or tomorrow. You're being invited by your soul to begin seeing yourself from different angles, different perspectives, so that you can truly see who you are, how you are. And if what you see doesn't make you happy, doesn't make you feel proud, you can begin shifting some of those things. You say yes to everyone. You ignore that gut feeling because you don't want to offend people. How has that turned out for you? Does it make you feel angry? I've done that for most of my life. Despite having all the gifts and highly developed skills that I have, I've done that quite a bit. The elevation in my emotion is not from a space of sadness because people were hurtful and harmful to me intentionally, despite the fact that I didn't do anything. I literally didn't do anything. And I can admit when I've done something. So where does this emotion come from? The natural and appropriate anger at remembering how I betrayed myself over and over and over. And I welcome the very people who wanted to be hurtful and harmful, who had the capacity, the desire, and the ability, because I gave them access to me, to be hurtful and harmful intentionally. It makes me mad at myself. And simply acknowledging that I'm still upset at how I allowed is part of the healing process. It's part of the forgiveness for the self process. I couldn't believe and I couldn't trust the instruction from soul. Why? Because I'm just me. And to listen to that instruction would kind of give the impression that for some reason I think I'm better than you because I won't allow you to access me. It's been a very difficult lesson to learn. I had to go through those things to understand. When I feel this thing in the pit of my belly, I don't need to experience it to believe my soul is trying to protect me. trying to prevent unnecessary harm, unnecessary struggle, this thing that's going to unfold very, very quickly. I want to believe, and I think I'm accurate in this belief, your soul will give you time to develop at least a minimum amount of discernment so that you can begin navigating this period in a more efficient and much safer manner for yourself. But you have to put effort into development of your discernment. This is not just going to naturally happen without experiencing the hardship. My discernment was cultivated by all the hardship that I faced because I did not listen to the instruction from my soul. So unnecessary. It was so brutal. It was. One of the most powerful things that my soul said to me to help me to understand this, who do you think you are to separate yourself from everyone else? You guys might think like, wow, that's yikes. Why would your soul say that? Because of the way I am. That even if we've never spoken before, and this is the first time we are interacting, I would defend you. I would wage a war on your behalf. But I'd never be willing to do that for me. Ooh, a notification just came through. We will not live in fear and we will not back down. These days I fight for myself as well. Not because I have to, but because I see I'm worth it. So are you. I think this is an invitation from soul to no longer back down. To no longer allow people to have their way with you just because what? And yeah, I spent several years publicly visible, not only allowing, but inviting people to maltreat me because I had some weird preconceived notion that if I give you enough, you will see my worth. Not everyone has your heart. Not everyone has the capacity to recognize when divinity stands before them. And just because someone cannot recognize the divinity in you does not mean you match their energy and hate on yourself. You'll have so many people trying to convince you that you need to give everything away. Everything about you, everything you've earned, everything you've worked for. You think that will help them to see you're a good person? It won't. When someone is convinced that they don't like you or that they will exploit you for their own goals, their own objectives, there is nothing you can say or do that will convince them otherwise. Nothing. I'm extreme. I am. Very extreme. So for those of you that don't know my history, I've been doing this work for quite a long time, even before I became publicly visible. And when I became publicly visible, I continued to do the work completely for free. Completely for free. And some of you might be like, that's because you're a good person. No, that's because I was hating on myself. Do you understand the value of the work that I do, the value of my skill set? Giving it away completely for free while I was homeless in a parking lot. Nobody knew. Nobody knew, not because I was ashamed, but because I saw myself as a burden and I did not want anyone's pity. Suffering will not prove that you are a good person. It just invites more of the same type of people to maltreat and misuse the beauty and the generosity of you. People can't be convinced what you are. They see you as they need to see you. One of the things I learned being publicly visible, and no, I'm not some type of internet sensation. I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. I'm simply instructed by my soul to be publicly witnessed in my unfoldment. My life's been documented since 2016. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of videos, hundreds of thousands of hours of documenting my life. And my self-punishment. I don't want to have this conversation. That's not funny. Michael's trying to be funny. He says, find the courage. And I'm telling him I'm sick and tired of hearing that. And then he says, drink some of your egg drink. For what? I'll share a small part of my stance. I've not been publicly visible by choice. And I haven't processed my trauma by choice. Part of my purpose is to simply be witnessed. And in my agreement to being witnessed, I'm gifted with the opportunity to begin processing and then digesting and then releasing. When I say I'm just like you, because I know there is this common misperception that I'm so fearless and full of courage and just this badass. And I tell you guys, I'm not. I'm not. It feels unfair. And it's deeply embarrassing. that people, thousands of people, have not just witnessed the things that I've had to go through, but to have to talk about it after the fact. It can't just be forgotten. It needs to be reopened and the wound cleaned once again before I can go through the painful process of stitching it back closed, knowing that at some point down the line, that wound will be ripped back open again in such a public display. And I'll just keep right on going. It feels unfair. But sometimes the most powerful opportunities for healing and growth, they feel as though they've been forced upon us, and it feels unfair. Is it? Has anyone ever asked the flower if it hurts to bloom? Has anyone ever asked the butterfly what it felt like to be confined in a chrysalis, dissolved and pieced back together, knowing you can never go back to being a caterpillar, living a simple life on the same plant? Did that caterpillar feel any fear, any discomfort? Did it want that type of metamorphosis? No one knows. Everyone who witnesses it just is like, it's beautiful. Eventually, that worm-looking thing that kind of is a pest because it destroys the leaves, it becomes something beautiful. So what am I saying? If you are resonating deeply with what I'm sharing right now, you're probably in that chrysalis. You're probably feeling life is very unfair. You've been a good person. You've done everything you possibly could do, and still ugliness and pain, right? It just depends on how you see it. And I'm not talking about lying to yourself. The period where my family and I were homeless was the most beautiful, most peaceful period of my life. That was the period where I was so hidden that I no longer had to be afraid of allowing the reality of me to be witnessed by complete strangers. Did you know my name is not Emmy? My name is Mary. Why do people call me Emmy? Because I felt like I lost myself. And I didn't know who I was. And I began signing private messages with just the letter M because I did not know Mary. And then one day, it was this thing of Michael asking me, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Because you're not M. And so I said, M is me. And that's where we got Emmy. M is me. Emmy. And you know, when I began using the nickname Emmy, I started a completely new account that none of my relatives, no one who knew me as Mary, knew this account. And because it was just all complete strangers, I didn't feel obligated to continue existing as a character named Mary. I stopped being her a long time ago. That was the process of my unfoldment. Letting go of the character I played that was so subservient to other people's demands on who they wanted me to be. As a problem solver, never appreciated, never seen, but would solve everyone's problems. But I'm more than a problem solver. I'm a change maker. I'm a catalyst, an accelerant. I trigger people by allowing them to witness me in my natural state. I trigger you, not to be offensive, but to begin the process of seeing who you really are. Not who I tell you to be, but who you see yourself to be at the heart of who you are. A lot of us believe this shadow that we face is a person that we are, as though the shadow is wicked, as though the shadow is evil. It's none of those things. It's just a different positioning on that scale of existence, that plane of existence. You're more towards the darkness, and darkness is not intrinsically evil. Cowards who are afraid of the consequence of people seeing the malicious, malignant things that they want to do hide in the shadow. But that doesn't mean the entire shadow is wicked. And if you believe that, that's an indication that you still need to go through the process to develop the maturity. Enough maturity for you to lose the fear of your own shadow. There is a dark mirror placed before you, and this dark mirror is helping you to see what parts of you need to resurrect. The parts of you that you have partitioned and rejected because someone at some point in your life said that it was a weakness, that it was ugly, that it was inappropriate. Those are the parts you need to resurrect. Why? Because those are the parts of you that have the capacity, the willingness, and the ability to help you navigate through this very period that you've entered into. Those are the parts of you that are the strongest and most appropriate for this period that you're in. You need to hold hands with it, and you need to allow it to be friends with you. You need to allow that part of you to come back home. Why? Well, because there's a lot that's about to happen, and it's something that's very malicious and malignant. Magic in reverse. This is something that's intended to derail your progression. This is something that's intended to cause you to revert, to go back into these spaces where you have these triggers and these reactions and these trauma responses. And those will not work in this period. This is the period of your unfoldment. This is the period where you need to give yourself permission to blossom. This is the period where you have to allow your masculine aspect to come forward and protect you, defend you. It's time. This unfoldment is going to happen fast. You are not to push away and shove down the parts of you that have the capacity to speak up for you. You cannot. I mean, you could choose to. That's going to create a whole clusterfluff for you. Yep, I agree. Work through your fears. You have to work through your fears at this point. You have to allow yourself to begin recognizing how your fears have commandeered your Merkaba, your sacred vehicle. Meditate and contemplate. You've done enough of this meditate, contemplate. For some people, the meditation part, the contemplation part was beautiful in the beginning. For some people, this meditate, contemplate was something that helped you to quiet that buzz that kept you like going, pushing, so that you would be far too busy to actually address what needed to be addressed. Now you're intellectualizing this excuse. You don't need to sit and meditate anymore. You know the thoughts that your soul has given you. You're aware of what the issues are. You're aware of the potential solutions. You're not putting any action behind it. You've meditated enough. You've sat in a state of contemplation enough. You now need to push forward with action. Action towards what? I don't know, but it's something that's designed to help you facilitate your own process. So, what do we need to do? Everything your soul tells you to do. You need to make sure it's your soul, though. You need to make sure it's your soul speaking to you. Expect powerful change, not if you stay in the same space, not if you stay with the same mindset in the same space, doing the same things, enabling the same types of maltreatment. No, it's not enough to simply tell someone who's been maltreating you, hey, stop treating me that way. You ask me what the solution is? Restrict or completely retract their access to you. It's very simple, but I can't just cut them off. Why? Why? Do they grow your peace? Do they support your peace? Do they help you to become healthier in your perception of yourself? You said no to everything. What's your reasoning? See, that's the problem. Whatever reasoning you're coming up with is an intellectualized excuse. At the root of it, the only reason you would continue to allow someone who has been hurtful and harmful to your process is because you believe somewhere inside you deserve to be punished. You know, I found, and I have over 13,000 clients at this point. I've been around for quite some time. And in those 13,000, over 13,000, I've noticed a pattern. The people who really are very wrong and are actually the problem in their life and in other people's lives, they're the victim in their own eyes. Like, oh, everyone keeps doing me wrong. You're the fucking problem. I'll tell them to. And then the people who are like, it's me, I'm the problem. And then their behaviors make it very clear that their mind is in a space where they think, they feel, they embody this need to punish themselves. They are so not the fucking problem. They're not the problem. The problem is they believe someone who convinced them that they're the problem. And you know how you can tell if you're that type of person? You'll hear what I just said and it'll make you feel something like, oh my God, yes. And then as soon as you say yes, you're like, wait, but maybe that doesn't apply to me. Maybe I heard that wrong. No, you heard me. You heard me right. And the people who are actually the problem, they're offended by what I said about people who are the problem. You're the fucking problem. I'm too old to give a shit what people think of me. I'm not old, but I'm too old to continue with those stupid ass programs. I refuse. I refuse. So which one are you? Take your time. Really assess. Think about it. You know who you are. You know how you are. You're not a victim. Because those who aren't a problem, but keep having the problems, you're inviting it in. You're allowing it. That makes you an active participant. You're not a victim. And I highly doubt you would see yourself as a victim anyways, because you're so accustomed to blaming yourself for everything, right? Yeah, that's got to stop too. That's definitely got to stop. Now, a new romantic cycle begins, and maybe this romantic cycle is you falling in love with yourself. It's a very crazy process to fall in love with yourself. And people will tell you like, oh, if you fall in love with yourself, shut up. Shut up. Don't listen to those people. Don't listen to those people. You have to really begin loving yourself. And I saw this video of this girl. She was trying to sell wigs, I think. I don't remember. So she was installing her wig. And she was saying, like, she's always had thin hair her entire life. And since she's been wearing wigs, she feels so confident and she doesn't have any insecurities and, these type of things. She says she's going to always wear wigs. And I mean, I'm not opposed to wigs, but please don't lie to yourself about not having insecurities. She's like, I love myself now. I love whenever I wear a wig. That's part of the masking. You can wear a wig. That's okay. I like wigs too. I do. I like wigs. I like thick hair. And the reason I like thick hair and sometimes putting in clip-in extensions is because it reminds me of the hair I used to have. I have alopecia. I've lost about 70% of my hair. Little bits are all what's left. This is all that's left. Yeah. You put these two together, and that used to be about this much of my hair. I still had all that hair. Yeah. So for a period, I did want to wear wigs as well because it kind of embarrassed me. You could see down to my scalp. My hairline was receding back to here. And then I realized that, my beauty is not my aesthetic. I know how to have a very alluring aesthetic. I worked as a freelance makeup artist. I'm a photographer, wardrobe. I did all of that. Yeah, no. I know how to look good in society's standards, but what's that even mean? What's the value in that? My beauty is who I am. It's who I am. They say your hair is an extension of your power. It's not your actual power. It's simply an extension of your power. My power is in here. It's in here. It's in here. And whatever this is, I love it. I love it. Because I love this. I love this. I love this. That's loving myself. It's not what society tells us is loving yourself. There's no part of my history that I'm ashamed of at this point. I will feel emotion based on whatever part of my history I'm being tasked by soul to process. Why? Well, because I never actually allowed myself to feel the things that you should feel in response to what I lived through. For example, I had this person, a female, who I invited to be my associate, publicly associated with them, helped them to build their business, their brand, promoted them, promoted the fucking shit out of them. My promotion of them was so potent that they were able to financially handle quitting their day job. Absolutely. All for it. All for it. And they proclaimed to be my friend. And then at some point, I'm not sure what happened because there was no argument. There was nothing on my end, nothing changed. I was still promoting. I was still loving. I was still encouraging my own client base to book sessions with them because I was just so overbooked. I vouched for them. I'm doing all of that and loving them in the way I've always loved them. Little did I know they were already starting a campaign to try and destroy my public image, to convince people that I'm demonic, that I hate everyone, that all of this shit. Yeah. Okay. Never said anything. As a matter of fact, that's the reason I left Facebook. I left Facebook at the height of my reach. Never ran ads. I had an organic reach over 500,000. I left Facebook. Why? Because she ran me off? No, because I wanted to give her an opportunity to exist and grow her business without me present. Still showing compassion. Still worried about her. These days, I'm like, fuck that bitch. Do you want her to fail? No, but I'm just saying, fuck that bitch. Whether she succeeds, fails, that's none of my business. That's none of my business. But fuck that bitch. I don't give a shit. Oh my God, that's so hateful. No, it's not. It's appropriate for the shit that was done. It's very appropriate for the shit that was done. I was homeless at the time, giving her all of that. And I remained homeless. And then she launched that campaign to try and destroy me. Right as I shared my mother was dying. Mm-hmm. No one will ever convince me that it is inappropriate or hateful to be like, fuck that bitch. I don't give a shit. Fuck that bitch. I'm sure you still watch my shit. Fuck you. Couldn't stop me, could you? Couldn't stop me, huh? Couldn't take what I rightfully created and earned for myself. That's some shit right there. Said before, peasant-ass humans can never override the will of your soul. I never wanted to be publicly visible. They were aware of that. I never want to have a following. That's weird to me. They were aware of that. They wanted to be famous. They wanted to be a celebrity. You go right ahead, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm gonna stay in my own little lane, being myself, and just allowing the public to witness me. That's the part of my unfoldment where I learned just because you give and give and give doesn't mean shit to the people who are offended by your existence. Let them be offended. Their fucking feelings are none of your business. None of my business either. Does that mean I want people to fail? No, it just means you won't succeed based off of you attacking me. Doesn't make me a bad person. Doesn't make you a bad person. This unfoldment requires you to look at the bigger picture. It requires you to look at the bigger picture. This was a circumstance where I had multiple people trying to convince me that my actual gifts were invalid, that it was just me projecting my traumas onto other people. I don't think so. I didn't bite my own back. I had bite marks from when demonic shit used to attack me as a child. I didn't fucking drag myself down the stairs by my hair. Some unseen thing did that. Here's the thing though. Because I lived through the things I lived through, no one can ever convince me or gaslight me into believing that was all fake. I made it up to get a following. No, I have the medical records and stuff as well. Yep. Because they can't convince me. They can't invalidate my work and my value. And I've come across quite a few people trying to say the work I do is fake. No, I have quite a few clients who've given me medical records just based off of one person alone. It's irrefutable fact. Irrefutable. Science cannot explain what happened. Modern medicine cannot explain what happened. Cardiac team cannot explain what happened. What happened? I restored the blueprint of my sibling. I reversed his heart failure. Mhm. He was waiting for an LVAD surgery. And I restored his heart function and repaired damaged heart tissue. To receive that type of confirmation, that portion, my unfoldment, was a very high price I paid. So much stress, so much sadness, so much uncertainty. So much. But because I went through the things that I went through, and I honored my sibling's process, I did not do things without his consent, not until he was ready, because he was going through his own unfoldment. I received the undeniable confirmation of the actuality of the elevated nature of my gifts. No one can ever take that away from me. No one can ever make me question ever again whether it was coincidence. Ever again. They can never take that away. Your unfoldment requires you to exist in a space of discomfort for a short period. Nothing is yet set in stone. Yes, it is. It's in your discomfort that you're given the inspiration to exit out of this space where you've been confining yourself, limiting yourself, shrinking yourself. Oh, Catherine, yes. Catherine said, you watered yourself down for them to feel comfortable no more. Catherine remembers all of that bullshit that I was going through when I decided to just leave my only platform that I was on. I needed to. I needed to, because what I established on that platform was extremely unhealthy for me. And I needed to. You see, when you listen to the instructions of soul, you're never destroyed. You might be deconstructed, but you're never destroyed. You're always provided for, and new opportunities are presented. You know, when I switched over, I didn't tell anyone on Facebook. I literally just disappeared. And it was like, you either randomly see me pop up on YouTube or you don't. Crazy, right? Especially my business is 100% based online. And because I was so hurt and so just over it, I decided to just be myself. I've shared this before. In the first week on YouTube, I had something like, I don't know, 12,000, 15,000 subs. I was like, what is this? This is weird. Is this how Facebook or YouTube works? This is weird. Yeah. Yeah. Do you need numbers to prove to you that you have a value that can never be taken from you? That you were born with this intrinsic worth? Because if you do, let your soul know, and it will show you. It will show you. So one day, not long after I started, I questioned, like, am I supposed to be doing this? This is just weird. And then you know what Soul did? Soul created a glitch on my YouTube account. And one of my littlest kids was watching my YouTube account, one of the videos. And then he kept saying that his mommy was such a big deal. And I was like, that's weird. Stop saying that. Like, what you mean? Couldn't understand. I couldn't understand. He thought I was famous, and I was like, baby, I'm not. Stop saying that. Except he was saying that because on his iPad, despite the fact that my sub count was hidden, I had close to 20,000, but it was hidden. On his iPad, it showed that I had something like 9.3 million subs. And I was like, oh no, baby, that's not true. That's a glitch. And what's funny is someone else emailed and they were like, Emmy, how come you didn't say anything? Congratulations on 24 million. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm not at 24 million subs. That's fucking insane. And like, yes, you are. No, I'm not. I promise you that's a glitch. That's a glitch. But that was so letting me know already. And you know what I did? I let pride get in the way. Here's the instruction. Don't let pride get in the way. And so I did everything I possibly could to slow that count down and to get it to reverse. Because I didn't want to be that publicly visible. What you want is not always in alignment with what your soul is telling you. You have to allow your sacred fire to come forward. You have to express your truth. You have to allow for the alignment for you to come back home to yourself. In order to do that, you have to surrender to your process. How do you surrender to your process? You have to awaken your awareness. You have to become aware that you're simply in the process of becoming who you have always been. How do you become who you've always been? Well, you have to shed the layers of caricature that you exist with. You are a mask for every single type of person and environment you enter into. I used to do that. I used to heavily mask. And depending on the environment I enter into, there's going to be a different portion of myself that's going to be allowed to be witnessed by those people alone. And then a different environment requires a different version. Why? Because I'm fake? No, because I'm accommodating people's expectations of who I'm supposed to be for them. That did me nothing but exhaust me. Now I am who I am. If you don't like it, keep scrolling. If you like it, well, thank you. Welcome home. We're mirrors. We're just the same. Don't worry, we got through this. That's that. That's that. So you need to be fearless. And in this fearlessness, it doesn't mean you have to be devoid of fear. Fearless, to me, this is my definition, is having less fear than you have courage. Having more courage than you do fear. However way you want to see it is the same thing. Be fearless. Be fearless. You need to correct this disbelief you have. You don't believe you're worth it. Oh, but you're just you. Exactly. That's who you're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to be. That's what the world needs more of. The world didn't need more of me being excessively nice and cutesy so people won't be intimidated by the fact that I'm fucking powerful. Because I am. What's that mean? Well, I'm better able to help. That's all that means. I'm better able to help. It doesn't mean I'm better than you, more loved by God than you. Mm-mm. No. I'm a better servant and better fit for whatever purpose creation asked me to incarnate into. That's it. That's it. This is about allowing this earthly existence to unfold. There's so much inside you still have not allowed yourself to recognize. It's okay. You will recognize it either by choice through curiosity and introspection, involution for your evolution, right? Or your soul will drag you through a dry riverbed. That's your choice. I've been dragged many times. I joke around that I was dragged by soul for so long. And that's why I developed alopecia. Oh, thank you, Bella. What was that? A star map. Okay. Maybe we'll talk about Antarctica sometime. Maybe. I don't know. I have a session coming up. So you need to be patient with your process because you're not meant to understand everything all at once. If you have this requirement to understand everything before you can fall into alignment, you're not going to be able to move forward. You need to let that expectation go. If your expectation is not aligned with the reality of your circumstance and your path, you're just going to frustrate yourself with that expectation. You're going to disappoint yourself and you're going to frustrate yourself. Your soul is not abandoning you. It's not forsaking you. It's not playing games with you. Soul don't play no kind of games. I'm telling you right now, soul don't play no type of games. It doesn't. It's us that play games with ourselves, with our expectations, with our disappointments, with our unrealistic, unfair expectations of ourselves. We're the ones that play games with ourselves. Soul does not want any part of that. Soul is just like, listen, you're running out of time. That's all. You're actually a free spirit. You can go ahead and move through your process with no one else's permission. You think anyone gave me permission to heal? You think anyone gave me permission to enter into a space where I give myself permission to exist in the way I was designed by God to exist? You think someone gave me permission? Not a single person gave me permission. The ones who are the most hell-bent on convincing me I had no permission to be the gift that I am. Yeah, they went out of their way to try and convince me. I don't care. You hurt your own feelings by getting in my way. That's like you being offended that I ran over your foot when you stuck your foot into my lane to trip me. That's just too bad. That's too bad. Keep your foot inside your own car. None of that would happen. So until you can give yourself permission, you're not going to start a new chapter. You're going to continue to circle and circle and circle, swirling around the drain. Oh, oh, ho, ho. Okay, so I'm going to need to get going, but that visual of circling the drain, right? You can only circle it for a certain amount of time before you go down the drain. When you go down the drain, you enter into the loosh. You get cycled back into the matrix. The reason this period is going to be very, very difficult, very challenging for most of us, is because in that challenge is when you experience the things that show you how strong you are, how much authority you have over yourself. And once you go through that, no one can take that awareness away from you. Ooh, notification. Stop fucking up. That's for y'all. That's for y'all. I'm not fucking up. Hell no. So what you need me to do? The hell no. Woo. Damn. Woo. Earth Angel, if you want to claim that. Hell no, I'm not claiming none of that. Hey, I do whatever soul says. I didn't want to continue this live stream. I kept right on. I'm just saying. Okay, for those that are fucking up, I don't think you're fucking up. I think soul is just using our vernacular, right? The shadow self. You're going to be invited to enter into these darker spaces within you, within your existence, where you're going to feel lost. You're going to feel very just confused, like, who am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. That's okay. That's a very powerful place to exist. Why? Because when you begin feeling that way and wondering those things, that's what empowers you to begin actively seeking the answers and the guidance. The guidance is not going to come from someone else. It's going to come from inside you. Watch my videos all you want, but until something resonates because your soul and you had a conversation the day before, the morning of, it don't matter. 2 years ago, it doesn't matter. The moment it triggers an old conversation with soul, You will feel it. That's why so many people are like, oh my gosh, the things you say in the live streams are so profound. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you it's not. I don't think it is. But I mean, if you're receiving it as profound, okay. But can we kind of shift that perception just a little? Probably the reason you're receiving it as profound is because your soul was already telling you this. And I'm simply reiterating it for you. I'm reminding you. That's all. That's all. I'm just a reminder. And then emotions. Don't gauge your level of success by your emotions. Don't. You're succeeding far more than what you could ever give yourself credit for. Don't gauge your success or lack thereof based on how you feel. How you feel is a result of whatever filter you're using to view your life and your accomplishments. Imposter syndrome. If you don't know what that is, look that up. There's a high, thank you, Bella. There's a high probability that you have some degree of imposter syndrome and you're refusing to allow yourself to see the actual gravity of you. If you can't see it, your soul will invite those who have the capacity to be malignant towards you so that you're forced to see it as you navigate that hardship. That's up to you, though. If you can learn what your soul is asking you to learn, tasking you to learn through a difficult, very, very challenging, painful process, if you learn it before that process is initiated, that circumstance, you won't go through that circumstance. And if you go through that circumstance, you'll be like, I know exactly what the fuck this is. Absolutely not. And then soul will be like, good, you've learned. Good job. Yeah. And then you just carry forward. That's how it works. Learn whatever you need to learn. And then when you see it unfolding, identify it for what it is. And then keep moving. Your soul doesn't want to destroy you, but at some points it will need to deconstruct you so that you can be rebuilt in a more fortified, more appropriate manner for what you were created to do. I gotta go, guys. I hope that you guys have, I don't know, had some type of aha moment for you and your soul, whatever it was that I shared. I don't even remember what I shared, but whatever I shared, I hope it's created some desire for deeper thought and deeper consideration for self. You deserve it. You deserve to be happy and exist in a space of peace, not because someone agreed or gave you permission, but because you're finally welcoming it back home. So I love you guys. I'll see you again very soon. Oh, quick reminder. Oh, I don't have time. I got to go, guys.